my panelists. Albert, on my extreme left, other than being a very seasoned broker, is a third generation brokerage house in Spain. He's also an expert motorcyclist. And the secret for his fast speed on the bike, if you notice, let me blow it up, are the pulses. So they speed up his drive on the bike. Also other things which I don't think I should mention. Then I have Rajat, who has a technical approach to the trading because he's a mechanical engineer. And he's very sharp MBA, and he has come up very nicely in the business. And they have a very experienced in processing of Kabuli chickpeas and Indore. Then next to him is Mr. Hugo Raggi, who is a very serious man. He says, I'm a very serious man, at least when I'm sleeping. So, and that side you might not know, but he's also a very accomplished samba dancer. So those of you who want to learn a little bit about samba, you can discuss with him other than discussing Kabuli chickpeas with him later on. And then we have Murat. Murat is, other than being a very nice and seasoned broker in Turkey, working with his uncle, he is a soccer player. And the best time to do business with him is from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. So that is the time he's up, so he's expecting your calls during that phase. So this is my panel, and this is a disclaimer. The print is small. It is meant to be. That's what all the disclaimers are. What I'm trying to tell you that these are experts. Whatever they talk, their opinions are not guided by their positions. None of them is a short or long seller. But whatever we say or they say or we all think, please make your own judgment. Do not come back to them saying that you have lost any money in this season. So we're over with the bike and the pulses. This is the real global pulses conclave. This is how the real authentic price discovery mechanism.
Mr. Sanjay Jain is not present.
Okay, now this data has been compiled with the help of Brian and many independent trade sources. You may agree or disagree. This is the production figures. These are the production figures globally of the Kabuli chickpeas. 2012 and 13 estimates, we will briefly we'll discuss about Mexico, we'll discuss about India, Argentina. So we have a very interesting panel here. So the total production of Kabuli chickpeas in 2012 and 13 is estimated to be about 1.6 million tons, which is higher than the last year, 2011 and 12, and pretty much roughly similar to 2010 and 2011 numbers. We will also talk briefly about Indian exports. These are the export figures in 2007, 8, 9, and 10 seasons. This is the data from DGFT. The current year data is not available, but I would assume it is similar to the last year, about 200,000 tons, and we'll discuss more about with the panelists. These are the major destinations who are buying large size Kabuli chickpeas. When I say large size Kabuli chickpeas, that basically means 9 millimeters or 5860 onwards, where a significant portion of Indian crop comes in the market. So it's about 200 to 250,000 tons of global demand for the large size Kabuli chickpeas. I have just taken 3-4 slides. This data is available on the STAT website. This is the Canadian 9 millimeter chickpeas prices. I want you to pay attention to 2010 prices and the last year's highest prices in 2012, in February 2012. And this is the Turkish 10 millimeter chickpeas, Mexican 11 millimeter chickpeas, USA 10 millimeter chickpeas, and this is the Indian prices since February 2010. This data, thankfully, has been provided to me by 3 independent brokers. So we took an average and we plotted these lines for you. And we also showing the exchange rate adjusted chart for the Kabuli chickpeas. Last season, in 2010, the rupee was about 8 to 9% weaker. So we adjusted prices according to that data available. So this is the background. Now what I'm going to discuss, because we have a very serious and experienced person, broker who does Mexican chickpeas. So I'm going to pick Albert, you first. And Albert, are you busy thinking about my bid? So please, can you tell us a little bit about what is happening in Mexico? What is the crop? What does the crop look like? Some numbers and your opinion about that, please.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Good afternoon to everybody. Okay, let's first try to make a quick analyze to the Mexico figures. It has been a little bit confusing because there's been different sources, but I want to give you the official sources, the official figures provided by Zagarpa, which is a governmental body belonging to the Ministry of Agriculture. They have officially reported a seeded area of 94,000 hectares in Sinaloa, which is the main area in Mexico, which is about the 70% of their volume. This is official, okay? Besides, we have the estimation from Sonora that they have seeded 30,000 hectares and another 6,000 hectares in Baja California. So that makes a total of 130,000 hectares in Mexico for this year. The average yield have been 1.5 tons per hectare. So if we make the calculation, we roughly reach to an easy number of 190,000 tons for the next new crop Mexico, which will be harvested within the next 10 or 15 days, if the weather respects, of course. This explains why Mexicans have started to sell short, of course, speculating to the main 3 markets in the world, which is Algeria, Europe, South Europe, and Turkey, selling at levels between $1,180 and $1,250 per ton. And my estimation is around 20,000 tons have already been traded. So this is one first analysis, which I think is very, very important. And from the buyer point of view, I want to say that the 3 main markets, which I said before, has approximately volume of 150,000 tons of consumption of Kabuli large sizes. So only Mexico can feed these 3 main markets. So I leave this question of what we are going to do with the rest of the Kabulis available. Thank you.
So in short, you're suggesting that all sellers of other origins should go and take a holiday?
Sorry, say that again.
In short, are you suggesting that all other exporting origins should take a holiday, long holiday?
Exactly.
My friend Brian has come up with his figure of 85,000 tons production in Mexico, which is 50% of what Albert is suggesting. So Brian, will come back to you on that once we finish discussing with the panel. So we have 2 opposite views. We have a average production figure of 80,000 tons, and we have, again, from a government source, a seeded area of 160,000 hectares, which pretty much is going to give us about 130, 140, if that holds true. Rajat, can I go back to you quickly and give us a little bit background, what is happening in India, what numbers, crop, quality, what does it look like?
Thank you, Sudhakar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What I believe is India, looking at the crisis that happened in the chickpeas crop last year, the Mexico crop failed. They had very little amount of chickpeas to export. Indian prices jumped to the levels of $1,800, $1,850 at the peak, at the highest levels. And looking at the prices that were given to the Indian farmer for the Kabuli chickpeas, Indian farmers were very much motivated to grow Kabuli chickpeas, most of the other substitutes like wheat or the desi chickpeas and something of that sort. Like we heard in the desi chickpeas panel as well that some of the areas of the desi chickpeas have been substituted by the Kabuli chickpeas. So now the estimation with a very elaborate sowing which started from the month of October, continued till the month of January, we had a huge plantation of Kabulis. But then weather played its tricks and there were severe cold weathers experienced in the Kabuli growing areas, because of which there seems to be some damage to the crop. In some areas it has been around 30-35%, some areas have been untouched with the damages. So taking a conservative or maybe a greater estimate of damage, we consider that the damage should have been somewhere around 20-25%. Earlier the estimations of the crop were somewhere around 600,000 metric tons. But now the estimations are reduced because of the damage, and people are estimating that crop would be anywhere above 425,000 tons. Because no one knows how much comes from the damaged plants. So the estimation is over and above 425,000 metric tons. 425,000 metric tons is the bare minimum which we are expecting to come in India. Looking at the climate again, the larger calibers would be reduced in the amounts, and we're expecting somewhere around 50% or 55% of recovery for the larger calibers, talking about the 11 mm and 12 mm. And that makes us with 200, 210, 215,000 of larger calibers to be exported. And as far as the domestic consumption is concerned, I believe most of the domestic market eats 9 mm and a little above size, and then there are the 8 mm, which are mostly consumed in India, because they are cheaper. And the 11 mm and 12 mm are mostly used for the export markets, because they fetch better price in the international markets. Apart from that, talking about the supply pipelines in India and across the world, I believe there was very little chickpeas left at the end of the December, because the complete Indian pipeline was empty, which is why the chickpeas that is coming into the market right now is getting consumed in the domestic market. Apart from that, the nearby destinations, talking about the UAE, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, they were all again empty. So the chickpeas that is coming into the market is selling right now as quickly as possible. But as I told you, that the sowing was done in an elaborate period. So we're not experiencing the greatest of the arrivals in the market at this point of time. The major portion of arrivals would start coming after 25th of the February and would continue till whole of the March and maybe go until April, because some of the seeding has already also been done in the month of January. So I believe that the markets should correct itself within the course of time, with the arrivals increasing after 25th of February.
Thank you, Rajat. Hugo, I'll ask you to quickly explain us a little bit what is happening in Argentina. We hear there is a sizable crop this year. So what is the size of the crop, which all markets they are targeting, and what are the calibers available?
Last year, 2011, due the barrier that our government put on the export or on corn, wheat, and soya beans, they collect too much for the growers. So the growers was incentivized to substitute some of the areas to chickpeas. And we saw a big jump in the production, or at least the planting intention was very good. At the end, we have some losses, especially in Córdoba province. We mainly produce in two areas. One is north, Salta, and the other one is Córdoba, is center of Argentina. I can predict, we have not official numbers right now of the total production. And also we have considerable losses in Córdoba area. So I can estimate, if my Argentinian colleagues are not against, that we harvest for export around 90,000 metric tons. Considering the carryover of 2010, because Argentina harvest time is in November. We export last year about 50,000 metric tons, which crop 2011 we can consider 30,000 metric tons. So now Argentina is a big player into the chickpeas market, fighting with Canada, US in terms of volume. Now we can say that is more significant. We are mainly produce 7 in about 20% of the crop, 8 millimeters, 60% of the crop, and 9 millimeters, mainly 20% of the crop. So this is the picture of Argentina chickpeas last year. We have remaining stocks, mainly for 7 and 8 millimeters, because the vedette of the market was the 9 millimeters. Our main markets are Europe, with this size. Argentina entered at the right time in the market, with the empty market, no carryovers in Mexico. And the big challenge for us will be sell the 7 and 8 in these market conditions.
Thank you, Hugo. Murad, quickly tell us what is happening in Turkey. Is this production estimate for the current year is okay with your, in your opinion? And how much Turkey imported last year, and what is the projection for this year imports?
Thank you, Sudhakar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.